Welcome to Dentology, the Business of Dentistry podcast. In this podcast, we delve into the non-clinical aspects of dentistry with inspirational guests from across the profession. You will hear incredible life stories, pick up valuable business tips and be entertained. I'm Andy Acton and I'm joined by my co-host, Chris Drevens. So to speak to a dentist who has a ancestry in dentistry running back 175 years to the beginning of dentistry.
Yeah, I mean, that's
in terms of
fascinating,
dental school.
You sort of think about it, that's quite a long time. Then you think, actually, that was, as he said, when dentistry was sort of became a profession, really.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah. And I love the way he talks about those important skills you need to succeed and how clearly the functional, the technical is in there. But the other areas he talks about, that's really where the success comes, the business success comes, isn't it?
It's all those soft skills, isn't it? So, we talk about it, everyone talks about it, you can be great as a clinician and really anything you do, you can be great at the technical bit, but unless you have the ability to communicate, you're just going to be great at doing the technical stuff. Yeah, which might be what you want to do. I hasten to add, but absolutely. If you want a successful business, you've got to master the other part. As well.
Yeah, no, he's got a very nice style about him as well,
nice,
in terms of what he's doing. So that's really nice. I'm sure people will take an awful lot from that. And if you like what you hear, then please do subscribe as well wherever you get your podcast from. So welcome everybody. We're off and running again. We have another episode,
yet another podcast.
And today we are absolutely delighted. We have a dentist who graduated in dental technology in 1995, dentistry at the University of Sao Paulo in Brazil in 2002, a member and former president of the Brazilian Academy of Aesthetic Dentistry and a member of the European and American Academy of Aesthetic Dentistry, becoming the only dentist member of the three most important aesthetic dentistry academies in the world.
And breathe.
Principal
of
the Digital Smile Design, a dental laboratory owner. It's a very, very welcome to Dr. Christian Coachman.
How are you, Christian? Nice to see you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Thank you for the introduction. Pleasure to be here.
Honestly, it's some introduction to give because there is so much that you've done so far across so many different areas, and we have to start by recognising that as a family, you're in the Guinness World Record book because of the generations of dentists. And for people that don't know, we've got Christian who's a dentist. We go back one step to his father, Robert Coachman. We go back to his grandfather, Charles Coachman, great grandfather, Hence Coachman, great-great-grandfather John Coachman, and then great-great-great-grandfather John Keys back in 1848. That is some remarkable heritage in dentistry, isn't it?
Yeah, I usually say that it's probably a genetic disease in the family. There's no choice.
Have you got any children, Christian?
I do have.
Any of them going into dentistry?
I hope somebody will continue. No pressure.
No pressure of heritage.
Me and my brothers, that's why we have a lot of kids, to increase the chances of somebody following. My oldest one is already 25. He's in business, so we lost him. My brother's older one is also in journalism, so we lost him as well.
Oh, dear.
I like the word lost. Lost him.
Yeah. Somebody has the problem, yeah.
And on a serious point, there's kind of a difference, isn't there, between pressure and duty? Kind of pressure gets inflicted by others, and duty is something that kind of you put upon yourself. As a youngster, was there kind of this dawning realization that you would feel this duty to follow on in the Coachman tradition of being a dentist?
That's a common question they ask us, me and my brother. My brother's a dentist as well. But zero pressure, because my father never really, told us this story with this emphasis. I didn't know exactly the story before I entered dental school. My father was not mentioning that much. We know there was a tradition, but he kept it he downplayed a little bit, and he never put pressure at all. And me and my brother, we never really thought about being dentists until the last minute. And I don't know why at the last minute we decided to become a dentist, but maybe our ancestors from above, they kind of guide us and say, if you're not sure about anything else, just go for dentistry, and we decided to go into dentistry kind of together, and that's it. That's history. No
And
pressure.
are you in business with your brother in any shape or form, or is he doing his own thing in dentistry?
So the interesting thing is that we are partner. We are partners at the DSD company, and
Ah,
nowadays none of us are doing daily clinical work anymore because we are
Right.
running the digital smile design company here in
yeah, yeah.
Madrid, our company. So we are in the business together, but we are both not doing clinical work as we used to do anymore.
Right.
Mm.
And
Uh,
did you just before you had the pressure from the ancestors nudging you down dentistry? Had you thought about doing anything else? Were you like, oh, I want to
Yeah.
be a dancer?
My dream was to be an architect. As a teenager, I was doing internships in architectural offices. And still today, I love architecture. And somehow I was able to become a small architect, as I call
mm.
Yeah,
myself.
yeah.
Right? So yeah, that was my dream. My brother wanted to be a veterinarian, and he realized that it was easier for him to make the money with dentistry first and then get the horses that he wanted afterwards instead of taking care of other people's horses. So that was his strategy, and he's working for that.
Makes sense.
And, and before dentistry, Christian, what was your upbringing like? Your upbringing was in Brazil, I assume, or did you travel
Oh, yeah.
around?
Born and raised in São Paulo, Brazil, the capital, so very, very big city. Uh, then uh, doing a lot of sports. We were always into sports a lot, and actually that was another dream to become an athlete. Didn't work out that well as well, so we were not good enough to become athletes.
You didn't want to become a footballer.
As a Brazilian, always that's
Yeah, I'd
always
say, isn't that almost a part of your DNA, the Brazilian
always
footballer?
and we tried. I tried personally until I was 16, 17. But tennis was my main sport. I played competitively until I was 18, 19.
Oh,
But
wow.
I also realized that I had a bigger chance in dentistry.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And on your social media account, you talk heavily about, and you have a hashtag kind of coachman tradition,
Yeah.
and rituals and traditions. That sense of tradition, obviously, it's linked through dentistry with your father and the generations before. But as a family, is that something that's really important to you as a family outside of the dentistry link?
Mhm.
Are you a very close knit family?
It is very important for my father, and I kind of inherit this sentiment from him. I know that I love tradition. Of course, I love innovation. That's actually the
Mm,
tagline combination I like: tradition and innovation, the combination of both. So, yes, we are always innovating and pushing things forward, creating new stuff. But at the same time, I have a deep appreciation for tradition. I love always looking back, learning from the past, respecting
Mm,
everything that was done before us. So, of course, from our ancestors, I always loved history. I always loved the history in general, but the history of our family.
mm,
My father loves, and he was always telling me the stories about the things that my grandfather created, invented, and the achievements from my great grandfather, and the whole history of the family. So cool how each generation was able to give their contribution to dentistry, and we are lucky
mm,
that there's a lot of documentation and a lot of stories that are still available about everything. So yeah,
mm.
I love history and I love tradition. I love to pay tribute to
mm.
everything that came before
It,
us.
it's interesting, isn't it, really? Because if you think about it, and I don't know because I'm not a clinician, but if you look at the pace of technology and how that's changed, if you probably look at the first generation, the difference between the first generation and second probably wasn't that much, and
Yeah.
the second to third probably wasn't that much, third to fourth maybe a little bit more, fourth to fifth a little bit more, probably fifth to sixth is like whoa,
Yeah.
It's
the
that
massive technological changes that have happened.
curve goes like this. Yeah, I think that was if I think about the way each generation was doing dentistry in my family, you're probably right. Of course, the first one, my great great great, he was part, in the 1840s, 1850s, was when they founded the first official dental schools in the world. There was two
Yeah.
dental schools in the US. So before 1840 something, there was no official dentistry as a profession. So he was among the first few guys that was
A real pioneer.
Pioneer, yeah.
graduated officially as a dentist. So the beginning of dentistry happened there. So where you're creating all the rules and all the protocols of whatever they were doing at that time. And then second generation, third generation, little improvements here and there. I think that the generation of my father, there was a big change, and that was the birth of interdisciplinary dentistry. Thinking, looking at the patient and thinking as a whole, right? Connecting the dots, connecting the disciplines. In my grandfather time, that was the beginning of specialties was starting to happen. Before him, dentistry was just dentistry. You try to reduce pain and extract teeth, right? A little bit of prevention and extractions. My grandfather saw the beginning of specializations and specialty professions, so endo here, ortho there, and things like that. My father generation started to connect the dots. So not only you have ortho, you have endo, you have perio,
amazing.
But you start to plan together. You start to see that one specialty can impact the other, and we need to sit down and think together, And that was, of course, consolidated in my generation. And then in my generation, just things started to happen like this. So maturation of interdisciplinary dentistry, also digital dentistry, starting right here, right now.
But it's funny that I was going to say that you've got such an appreciation for the old traditions and the heritage. Yet at the other end, you've obviously got the massive digitization, which is where your world's focused.
And I was going to ask Christian, is it one of those ones that also you've effectively I don't quite know the way to put it, but almost like maybe a library or a catalogue or a history of bits of equipment that your granddad, your grandfather, your great grandfather, whatever used, or bits of literature or something, or is it one of those ones that nobody ever really thought about it until sort of like, oh, it's too late now, we've changed it all? It's almost like you could create your own museum if you had all those stuff.
We have a little museum. We have the diplomas, for example, my great when they were originally from US, so they moved to Brazil in 1868, right after the Civil War. Moved to Brazil, started from scratch in Brazil. Then they became the dentists of the royal family in Brazil. At that time was a kingdom.
Okay.
And they created actually a relationship with the king. He became friend. John William Coachman became a friend of the king of Brazil, and he has the diploma. We have still the diploma with the stamp from the king, giving him the authorization to practice as a dentist, for example.
Oh, that's brilliant!
Excellent. All of them were researchers and article producers, so they were producing articles, and we have all these articles as well. They were authors of important content, in the 1800s, and then beginning of 1900s, we have these articles as well. Then, of course, my grandfather went to the same dental school that I went. So we all have this tradition since 1820 something, 19 something, that going to the same school. Wow. So there's this tradition as well at the University of São Paulo that is the best dental school in Latin America. So also very proud of that.
You almost wonder if they've got your own chair. You got the couchman chair. Oh, this is your chair.
Yeah. This is something that again, when I was in dental school, I was not that into it. I really got into it after I finished dental school, and my father started to tell me the stories more in detail. And I think that was good, because during dental school, I didn't really felt that I was nothing more than anybody else in school. Maybe as a youngster, if I knew all of that, maybe I would be a little bit more like, I'm this or
True, I
that.
suppose. No pressure and stuff
Yeah.
like that, I suppose.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah. There could be a bit of
Mm.
an attitude, knowing
Yeah, a
knowing
little
knowing
bit.
what's gone
Yeah,
before.
you know.
And you started as a dental technician working in your father's clinic in '95, and then qualified as a dentist later in 2002. And you said you didn't find it easy. What was your dental school experience like?
So the dental technology, the lab work actually saved my dental career because, as I told you, I didn't want to become a dentist.
Mm.
I ended up choosing that, and the beginning of dental school was a disaster. And I entered dental school in '94, and I was feeling like I did the worst decision ever. So I wanted to quit. Uh, and in the second year of dental school, I said, "Dad, this is not for me. I want to quit." And he said, "Look, maybe you can become a technician because you can find, you like to work with your hands and design and etc. And lab work may be something for you." So I started to do the dental technician course in parallel to dental school, and that's something that in Brazil is possible. You can move your dental school to half time and use the other period to either work or do other courses. So I became a technician. I was in the third year of dental school. So I was still in dental school, and I became a technician, and I started to really love that work. I started to work for my father, started to make some money. So that was always good, makes you feel good.
Always
And I
helps.
fell in love with lab work. And that made me stay in dental school and finish it, even though I never saw myself as a clinician, right? So it really saved me. My father's vision and suggestion, and the fact that my mom told me, I don't care what you're gonna do, you're gonna finish this. We're gonna give you the diploma, and then you can do whatever you want.
Wise words from your mother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Finish.
Exactly. I mean, I haven't spent a lot of time in labs, but I've been in a few, and I'm always amazed at the artistry and the design and the craft work that goes into the creation.
Yeah.
And they're little bits of art, and trying to create something that's natural in a
Mhm.
laboratory
Yeah.
really is high end artistry.
Yeah. Yeah. No, even until recently, where technology really started to come into labs, it was a completely handmade process, a craftsmanship. It's almost like going back 100 years and seeing how people used to do things. And in the lab, we were doing the same way. So it was completely dependent on amazing levels of artistic skills. And that's why I love so much lab work.
Yeah.
And it's still today, even with digital dentistry, it still requires a lot of artistic skills and hand skills and just good creativity to build smiles and design smiles and manage all the tools that we need in the lab.
So given that it was kind of the dental technician side of things that kind of saved your dental career so early on, what did you learn as a technician that's helped you as a dentist? What are the things that perhaps other dentists don't have in
Mhm.
their kit bag that you learned as a technician?
So when you are transforming somebody's smile, you have a patient that deserves a better smile or needs a better smile for aesthetic reasons or functional reasons. You need, of course, a lot of clinical experience. You need a scientific base. You need good hand skills as a clinician, but you also need artistic skills, and it's completely different. Being a great clinician is completely different than being a great smile designer. These are two completely different set of skills, right? So to transform a smile, to treat a smile, you need both. You need great clinical skills and you need great artistic smile design skills. So as a technician, I understood that most dentists, most great clinicians are not necessarily great smile designers. And that's why this partnership is so important, great dentists and great technicians working together to transform people's lives. So that was something that I was able to understand because I was doing both sides. I was, learning from both sides. I had training on both sides. So I was able to connect the dots and basically tackle all the problems of communication. That is a classical historical problem in dentistry, the communication between dentists and technicians. And since the early days, I was always focused on how to improve this communication. That's actually the birth of digital smile design.
Well, yeah, I mean, you said before, dentistry requires a unique combination of skills. What would you see those as being?
So I actually, I actually wrote an article about what it takes to be a great dentist, and I was able to outline five skills, right? Five specific skills. So first of all, you need scientific background. Second, you need you need to study. You need to know the science. You need to know materials. You need to know the techniques, and that is reading and studying, right? But of course, this is not all. There's a lot of people that are great with science, knows everything, but they're not good dentists on the execution, right? The second part is clinical experience. So meaning years of practice, doing over and over again the same procedures. There's no shortcut. Great dentists, they've been doing whatever they are doing for a while. There's a minimum amount of time that is required for you to become a great dentist. So there's no magic here. You need that time to have those clinical skills. Another one, communication skills. So this is a completely different set of skills that I believe is vital. Every great dentist has that. You need great communication skills because as a dentist, you need to work as a team. So dentistry is a team sport. And to lead a team, you need great communication skills. You need great communication with the specialists and with the lab. And this is a big problem. If you don't have communication skills, it's very hard to deliver high-end dentistry. And you need to communicate with the patient. Otherwise, they're not going to.
So, Christian, on that, I'll just on that point about communication. Do you feel the communication, the relationship between dentists and labs has been neglected over the years?
I think that for a while, it was. I think everybody knows today how important it is. It's just that communication is not easy. We don't learn in dental school how to communicate well, how to build communication systems. People talk about the importance of communication, but people don't teach how to implement communication systems. Communication should be something that it's not only about, I need to be a better communicator, but how, what tools do I use? What systems do I implement? What protocols do I follow? You need to be pragmatic about communication. It's not only about becoming a better communicator yourself, but implementing systems that you can repeat every single day that your whole team can follow to improve communication for every case that you do, not here and there. So people take communication too casual. So that's actually that's actually skill number 3. Skill number 4 is the artistic skill. So different than clinical skill, artistic skill means that you can see things differently. Somebody that is very artistic has artistic eyes, can see artistically. You can look at things and understand harmony, beauty, composition, proportions. So many times you have a great clinician that don't have artistic skills and they look at the smile and they don't know exactly what is right and what is wrong, or they have difficulties to understand how to make something look better. So it's a completely different set. And that is the 4th set of skills that a great clinician needs. And the final one is ethics. And that's the one that comes above all. You can have all the other 4, and if you don't have ethics, you're not going to be a great dentist. So these are the 5. In my opinion,
the ethics is a great one, isn't it? It's that integrity of making sure you're doing the right thing.
That's right.
For people rather than just making money.
Yeah,
exactly.
And like you say, there's quite an overlay, isn't there, between all of those elements in themselves. None of them are going to get you the result, but the interplay between those different 5 elements is so strong.
Yeah, definitely. definitely. And it's an interesting one. I think the one that for me, as I think you majored on a bit, is the communication. You can learn the technical bits and the sort of aesthetic bit. I think you've got to have it in you. But communication is not just talking. It's a whole skill set on its own, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. No, communication is an art, but it's also what I said, you need to be professional about it. You need to implement systems, communication systems.
And I think because we communicate so much all the time, we're not always as intentional with our communication as we might be. And like you say, particularly when you're dealing with something which is science-based, being able to communicate that in a language which is received well by the patient so that it's understood, so they know
so it's understood, yeah.
Exactly. That there's work around that as well.
Yeah. No.
So obviously, for where you are now, you lots of the things you talk about kind of lead us towards the digital side of things, and obviously the advancements in digital dentistry are changing at a rate of knots, and I guess that was kind of part where you are now as the founder and CEO of the Digital Smile Design Company.
Yeah, no. So as I mentioned, it all started with me seeing these challenges between the communication and the workflow between dentist and technician on the process of rehabilitating a smile. So I started to outline everything that I thought should be improved, or ideas that I had about improving this communication. Because at the end of the day, as a dental technician myself, I wanted to work with less stress. I was very pragmatic. I said, look, I want to actually work less and make more money. How can I work a little less with a little bit less stress and be a little bit more profitable? There's so much back and forth, so many things. I was super proud of my work, and I was working with great dentists. So the outcomes were good, sometimes better, sometimes worse, but the work was good, but there was room for improvement. And I decided to challenge myself and start to understand what were the bottlenecks and the flaws of the protocols that I was using. And as I was trying to improve this process, digital technology started to appear. And of course, it was a natural move. I said, look, with technology, that's the future. You have to believe that you can be more efficient with technology, that you can understand the problems better with technology, that you can diagnose better with technology, that you can plan better with technology, that you can communicate better with technology, that you can replicate yourself better with technology, that you can keep a good quality standard better with technology. So was just at the right moment when I was putting these protocols together, and I started to learn about all the digital tools, and I started to embrace them and teach them and use them and develop all the protocols that created digital smile design philosophy.
And like you say, I think that predictable nature of using digital tools that are available is something that's highly attractive for clinicians and exciting for the profession.
Just be more
consistent.
And the patients, this is the end goal, and when patients understand the benefits of digital, they don't want to go back, they get it.
I think when you watch, I say we're not clinicians, but we've seen lots of presentations of people using digital smile design, and it is amazing that you can turn, their teeth whichever way you want, so as that the patient can really see what's going on and what you're going to do. I think it's fascinating, really. It's fascinating just watching, irrespective if it's not my mouth. I just find it quite fascinating, really, of what can be done and how you can then present it so as they can see what your outcome is going to be. I think it's brilliant.
I think that's one of the benefits, of using digital in dentistry, is to be able to simulate the whole treatment before even touching the patient. So in 3D, you can actually translate your ideas and simulate your ideas. So what I tell doctors and I tell patients, say, look, we use technology so we can detect possible mistakes on the software before we detect the mistake in your mouth, before we do it in your mouth, So we minimize mistakes in the mouth. It's like when you're treating the patient, you're already treating the patient for the second time because you already did the whole process.
That's true,
in 3D on the software.
It's so less threatening, isn't it? You know, people don't jump out of bed in the morning and go, "Hey, I'm off to the dentist." So there's a certain degree of trepidation anyway, isn't there? Really?
Yeah,
100%. You know, it reduces anxiety. It makes patients more confident. It makes them understand and value more what we are doing. So it's a win-win-win situation for sure.
When you started Digital Smile Design, Christian, were you ahead of your time? Were you finding it quite hard in the early days to get people to understand and engage and embrace what you were saying? Yeah, we're talking now in 2023, and digital dentistry is kind of quite common language. But when you started doing this, were people seeing you as a bit of an outlier?
Oh, yeah, I was speaking by myself for a few years. I can tell you that. I was kind of lonely, but that was okay. That was part of the journey. So I started the first DSD course that I ever gave was in 2009. So the ideas.
Oh, wow.
14 years ago. Wow. Long time.
So ideas started to come together in 2007 and 8. And then 2009, people started to ask me to show what I was doing. So I started to put all the courses together. At that time was still what we call the vintage DSD with 2D tools.
Can you imagine the quality of the digital images?
Yeah,
in comparison to what you got now.
Was a few digital tools to help us on the analog world. So it was a combination of, but the philosophy was there. The philosophy was the same, simulate before you perform, communicate better to make better decisions, educate and motivate the patient to increase case acceptance and grow your business. Try to control the execution and guide your hands on the best way possible to translate projects into outcomes and make outcomes more similar to projects. So this was the speech in 2009 and 10. It didn't change at all. What changed was that technology evolved. And in 2013, 14, everything went 3D. And nowadays, of course, the whole thing is so mature and so really ready for any dentist to take advantage of it every day.
In the early days, Christian, did you have to kind of dig deep and keep reminding yourself that what you're doing was right and believe it? Because, I mean, Chris and I, we started a number of businesses as you have. And in the early days, it's not easy, is it? Because you're not necessarily getting the embracing that you hope for.
No, it's not easy. It's not easy first because usually if something is so new, even the people that listen to the stories and they say, Christian, that's a cool idea, but people don't want to put money in it. People don't want to put change
what they're really saying is it's your good idea.
Yeah, it's your good idea and your risk. Let me know when it works.
I love it. Keep it for yourself.
That's like a bank.
So you are like, of course, looking at all these, I say, but this is so obvious, why? But I was lucky that at least, people really wanted to listen to me. So the courses were always very successful since 2009 and became my main business, giving courses. So the courses were very successful. People were very excited at the end of the course. Nobody was doing anything about it after the course. So
you'd see them 6 months later. Hi, you're back.
Yeah. So, but I could see that people were like, year after year, dentistry in general was getting more and more ready to embrace the ideas that I was bringing, in the courses. So I thank God I kept my hope on the process. I stayed with the message. I insisted. I started to bring early adopters. I have to. I say that any good idea without early adopters means nothing. So I'm very grateful to the guys that, year after year, the few guys that started to say, this is amazing. We're going to do it. We're going to make it happen. And then little by little, the group started to grow. And I was always super motivated to continue. But I can tell you that from the business perspective, all these ideas only became really mature on the first year of pandemic. So in 2020, from
Wow.
2009 to 2020, 11 years after, 2020 was the first year that suddenly I could see the whole market just clicked.
Wow.
And people suddenly started to really use the tools and were willing to pay for
To
these
embrace it as well.
solutions. Yeah.
So without COVID, Christian, do you think that it would have been a slower development
longer
of your
burn.
business? Because I know lots of virtual consultations, lots of things blew up and benefited as a result
Mhm.
of COVID. As dreadful as it wasn't all bad news. Did your business benefit from that?
I agree. I have to believe, and I saw that. We were growing like this. Adoption was happening like this. When COVID hit, lockdown. Of course, there was those 2 months where everybody was lost, including myself, and we didn't know what was going on. But we were able to reorganize ourselves and move online completely. And after 2-3 months, when the doctors came back, it's almost like those 2 months where everybody stayed at home, we all kind of went through our lives and our professional dreams and vision. And we said, I want to do something more meaningful. I want to push my dreams forward. I want to do better. And then suddenly DSD had a place in people's mind in a different way. And I believe that it did speed up the process of implementation of digital smile design ideas.
Yeah, I think it did. I think
Maybe.
it's brought forward a lot of things, hasn't it?
And
home working, all
exactly.
that sort of
but
stuff.
I think timing is really important.
Yeah.
Lots of people, they have great ideas, but just
time.
the environment just doesn't suit them. Whereas you've done so much work, you were well placed that when that explosion happened, you were able to capitalize on it.
100%. Everything happens for a reason. Everything happens for a reason at the right time. I was going to make a joke that I wish maybe pandemic happened before, 10 years ago, so I could have grown faster. But that's not true because I was not ready. We did all the work in a decade that we needed to do to be ready to serve dentists and to help dentists the way we help them today. And everything is perfect the way it is. And we are.
You have to put in all the work, don't you?
Yeah.
What's that great quote from that Arnold Palmer golfer? He sort of says that it's amazing. The more I practice, the luckier I get.
Yeah.
And I think it's the same thing. You have to do that groundwork to benefit from it.
Yeah. Well, I think it's what you were saying, Christian, about that. You've got to do kind of lots of dentistry to get the skill to understand what needs to be achieved. And I think all the digital bits can support you, but you need that core skill to lean back on. So obviously DSD, you talked about kind of predictable outcomes using digital technology, but you also say there's a management and marketing strategy side to DSD as well. Is that a fairly new innovation in the business? Tell us about that.
That's a good question. So as I mentioned, I started from a very technical perspective, how to improve the technical clinical workflow between dentist specialists and the lab. That's how we started. But I realized that there was a very important component. If I was trying to convince dentists to incorporate a new idea, to invest on a new solution, I realized that the dentist needed to put extra effort, invest in this idea, and somebody needed to pay for it. And that was the patient. So I realized that if I wanted the dentist to use my ideas, I needed to help the dentist to convince the patient to pay for those ideas. So on the early days, I jumped into all the possibilities of how to help dentists grow case acceptance, grow conversion, improve communication, improve education towards the patient. And this became a trademark of my lectures. Every time I'm lecturing about a technique, I'm always also lecturing about how to sell that technique. If you learn how to do X, with that, you want to also learn how to convince the patient to value that X, that you learn how to do X, that you're doing X, not Y, and why you're doing X, not Y, and why this is better for the patient. And you need to wow your patient. You need to make your patient say, I'm grateful that you learned that little thing because I can see that it's better for me.
Mm.
So this is what I call emotional dentistry strategy. So we have digital dentistry, and we started to also teach what we call emotional dentistry. And emotional dentistry is basically every single strategy that helps you create perceived value, make the patient value your effort, your skills, etc. So of course that has a direct impact on your business as well. So as I was giving the courses, I started to realize that I needed to give extra support to the participants after the course. People were excited at the end of the course, but not necessarily doing something about the content. So I realized that the course was just the beginning of the journey, and I needed to create a company that could support the dentists to go through the whole journey, the DSD implementation journey, as we call. So we started first opening the DSD Planning Center. That is the first and still the only interdisciplinary digital planning service in the world, where doctors from all over the world are sending their patients' documentation, and we are helping them design the case and plan the case, diagnose the case, develop the plan. So we all those reports that we generate, helping dentists to understand what is the problem and what is the best solution for their patient. After that, we opened the lab because we needed to manufacture all these devices that we were creating and inventing, not only the veneers and the crowns and the restorations, but all the devices and guides and appliances and splints and aligners and everything that you need to perform this comprehensive type of dentistry. So that was the third business we started. Then, as I mentioned, if you are investing energy to bring all these new ideas, you need to convince the patient to pay. You need to attract the right patient. So we open a marketing agency to support the dentists that were implementing our ideas. So if you're going to use the planning center, you're going to use the lab, we're going to help you show to your community why you are better, why you are special. We're going to build the content. We're going to build the strategies. We're going to build the stories, and we're going to empower your communication with your community to grow your business because you're using our solution. So we became a full service marketing agency as well. And finally, we identified another bottleneck. So not only the dentist needs to be convinced, you need to help them use the ideas, then you need to help them sell the ideas, but you also have to onboard the team, because at the end of the day, the team, the staff, will make the magic happen. And doctors depend on the staff, and they struggle convincing the staff, training the staff, and making the staff want to do this more than themselves. That's what we tell. If you want to use DSD, if you want to implement DSD, your team needs to love this more than even yourself. That's when the magic happens. So we created a whole team of consultants to go and train staffs all over the world to implement these ideas. So nowadays, besides education, that is still the beginning of the journey, we became this service company where we serve dentists on diagnosis and planning. We serve with lab manufacturing devices. We serve with marketing, and we serve with consultancy and team training.
I mean, it's really cool, and re-engineering the dental practice makes sense because, like you say, the clinician's going to be locked away in their surgery treating that one patient. So if the whole team aren't on board, it will fail. But there are so many courses out there where, and we've seen this over the years, where dentists get taught on the technical aspect of what they can do, but it's not translated into language of a patient benefit and how it can enhance the patient's life.
Yeah, 100%. And that's the key, huh? That the few doctors that got it, or some people have that instinctively inside them. And these are usually the dentists that are making the most money. They can instinctively, naturally, they have the gift to generate value through their charisma, through their words, through their communication, and they can make the patients this, wow, whatever you want, doctor, I'm going to pay for this, right? So we know those people that have that natural gift to generate this magic through communication and body language and behavior, etc. But many great clinicians don't have that naturally, and they deserve those credits. And we love helping those great clinicians to grow their value in front of their patients.
we've always said, Christian, when we run courses, and we do sometimes, we've done for a while, about selling and sales techniques and communication predominantly, and we say, think about the best clinician that you can think of, and then would you like to go for a drink with them? and people sort of go, oh, no, I wouldn't really want to go for a drink. He might be a brilliant technician of the dentist and stuff, but as you say, quite often, regrettably, they've sort of missed out on that personality communication bit, which obviously is what sounds great, is the fact of you're never going to make them the world's best communicator, but you can make them a darn sight better than they are by helping them. I think it's brilliant. It's great.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So Christian, you're only allowed to take one lesson from your entrepreneurial journey. What's the one learning that you would take from all the things you've learned from your broad ranging career?
Yeah, that's a good question, because I was not trained to be an entrepreneur. I was not trained to be a businessman. So I'm literally learning on the fly, right?
Aren't we all?
And it has been an amazing journey of learning. When you talk about techniques and clinical and dental, that's what I studied and that's what I did my whole life. But when you talk about running a company and managing 130 people and growth and numbers and whew, it's unbelievable how complex and so
people. Managing people. I love it.
I think that's actually for me the number one take home message. If you want to grow beyond yourself, if you want to create a business that doesn't depend every day on yourself, on your hands, if you want to have really a business, not being just a dentist making money for service, right? I think that you need to put all your energy on how to bring the best people around you and how to make the best people embrace your idea and make your idea become their idea, so they don't move away when they get better, when they improve, and this is a common complaint. Many people say, oh, I hired this person, I trained, I gave everything to this person, and then when this person became very good, he left to another job. So instead of getting pissed, you need to understand that you can do stuff. You can change yourself to make your project become the best project for everybody around you. Every person around you need to see that they can become whatever they can and whatever they want inside your project. And that's how you keep the best people around you.
Absolutely. I think there's a saying, Christian, that they say if you train people and you make them better and they leave, surely it's worse to not train people and they stay.
Yeah, I know. So, this is a good saying.
It's frustrating, but it's still the right thing to do, isn't it? To train people and make them the best version of themselves.
It worst case scenario is better than not training them and they staying with you. You're 100% right. I love this saying. So there's no way out. You have to train. You have to invest in people, but it's not. The problem is that you train people to do what you want. And at the end of the day, because you want your business to be better for yourself. And that is wrong. You need to train people to do better for the business because you want the business to be better for everybody. So they won't leave and they will stay and they will fulfill their dreams in your business.
Yeah, absolutely. And for some people, they just find their happiness somewhere else, and that doesn't mean you've done anything wrong or you've missed out. Because those people may come back to you at some point in the future, and they might come back with an expanded set of skills.
It's impossible to keep everybody. You just need but you just need to keep as many of the good people around you. There's no shortcut. There's no magic. You need to have great people around you.
When you were talking, Christian, about kind of your entrepreneurial journey and saying that's not the bit you're trained in, you've obviously done the technician side and dentistry. What do you feel that you're a technician, or do you feel that you're a dentist, or is it a blend?
I'm sorry, say ask again.
I was saying you're obviously a technician and a dentist, and your businesses span
Mhm.
kind of both of those fields. But as an individual, do you instinctively feel you're a technician, or are you a
Oh,
dentist?
100% much more a technician than a clinician.
Oh
That's
wow.
that's 100%. I worked as a technician for 20 years, and I never worked only as a clinician, as a normal clinician.
Mm,
When I finished dental school, I was already a technician, and I decided that I didn't want to become a clinician that used to be a technician, and instead
mm,
to continue to be a technician that was also a clinician,
Mm.
also a dentist, right? So I think that was a very important decision I made that really shaped my whole career, because instead of being one more dentist that used to be a technician, I became very unique technician that was also a dentist but decided to continue to work as a technician.
Mm.
So it made me different. It really differentiated myself, and it opened many, many doors, including the fact that as a technician that is also a dentist but wants to continue to work as a technician, you can work anywhere in the world. And I was able to work with the best dentists in the world because of that, traveling and
right.
living
Yeah.
in other countries. As a clinician, you cannot. You can only work on the country or state that you have your license. As a technician, you
See, I
can work
hadn't
anywhere.
thought
I hadn't
about
thought
that.
about that. No, that's true.
About the
Yeah, yeah.
freedom that it offered you,
Yeah.
and I'm sure as a result of that, you've now got great worldwide experience that you've been able to benefit from yourself, but
Mm.
also bring into your businesses as well.
Yeah, yeah. The lab work was the foundation for me to start Digital Smile Design 100%.
Mm.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And as a guy who's got you got this business empire, you've got 4 children. How do you manage your time? What's the secret sauce to making sure that you kind of keep all those plates spinning and still have time for your family?
Uh, so this is a good question as well. People always ask me this question: how do you manage your time? Or the other question that I find interesting is, how do you find balance? You
Mm.
know, and my answer is, I already gave up on trying to find balance, and I gave up trying to manage my time. I don't even blame myself. I don't feel bad about it anymore. Finding balance in life. Oh, I said, look, I gave up. I'm not even looking for balance anymore. I'm just, going full power, doing as much as I can, and enjoying the process, having fun in the process of doing whatever I'm doing at that specific moment. So
Mm,
um, I do have problems of managing time. I'm very impulsive. I'm all over, and I'm not saying this as a good thing. I got better on the last few years. I had to get better with some type of organization to be able to to run the company here with the team and etc.
Mm.
But thank God I have amazing organized people surrounding me that are running the day-to-day thing,
mm,
allowing me to continue to take advantage of what I can bring to the table, the best
Mm.
part of me, that is the creativity, the communication, the entrepreneurial mindset, thinking outside the box. And these
mm.
things you cannot schedule. I'm going to schedule a session tomorrow, 1 hour, to have my next great idea. No, you don't. You
Life doesn't
cannot.
work like that, does it?
This comes, and thank God, the business allows me to have
Mm.
this space in my mind
Mm.
to continue to come with new ideas.
Mm. I think what's great is you said you've given up on balance, but it also sounds like you're very in the moment. And I think so many people spend time trying to work out where they should be or what they should be doing. But if you actually just enjoy every moment that you're in, you kind of
Yeah,
get stuff done and it's fulfilling. And then you don't feel guilty about
Mm.
it either.
100%. We know that we learn so many philosophers, and they talk about the fact that you need to live in the present. It's not easy. You're not constantly
Yeah.
suffering because of the past and anxious about the future. But this is something that I really I'm really focused. When I'm doing something, I'm usually having a lot of fun doing that one thing, and it really makes my day super fun. It's nice to be 100% in a meeting, or 100% answering an email, or 100% building a new message, or 100% talking to a possible new business partner, or 100% giving an interview. Like here, you just 100% into it and giving your best on every little single thing you do.
Yeah, I think it shows as well. Christian, we're very grateful for your time. As is evident from our conversation, you're not short of things to keep you busy. We always finish up asking our guests the same 2 questions, just to get some kind of consistent responses across all our guests. And the first one we have for you is, if you could be a fly on the wall in a certain situation, where would that be, and who would you be with?
Whew. I would like to be a fly on the wall and be inside of Putin's office to understand why he's messing up the whole world.
Yeah. Everyone would like to be on that office.
Yeah. And he's doing a good job at it as well at the moment.
I think that that would be one wall that I would like to be.
We might get some answers and get a bit more safety across the planet if we knew the answers to that.
Huh?
If we knew the answer to that, we might get a bit more calm and safety across the planet as well.
Yeah, and then I wish I could talk to him and say, "Look, man, let's just enjoy life. Don't destroy, your life by doing what you're doing." But anyway, we pray for
absolutely. Absolutely. And if you could meet anybody, if you were given the opportunity to sit down and have a cup of coffee or a glass of wine with somebody, who would you like the opportunity to meet?
That's another good question. I would.
It's Putin again. No.
No, let's be more positive on this one. I would like to be with Abraham Lincoln.
Okay, yeah.
I would like to be able.
I thought you were going to go with Pele myself, but
Pele. No, of course I love Pele and I love soccer, but to understand how a person can really change the world for better and do everything that he did, at least in my perspective and at his time. I think I think he's a special human being.
Yeah, absolutely. And given the family heritage as well and how it affected your sort of ancestors, I can see that.
Maybe if I could go back at that time, I could meet my great and talk to him as well. Yeah, that would be fun.
Yeah. He's got a beard like Lincoln, looking at the picture I've got there.
He does. Christian, it's been wonderful. Thank you so much. It's been really enjoyable.
Yeah, fascinating.
And like I say, I think the way that your career's evolved and developed, and that kind of blend of technician and clinician and what you've created is remarkable. And I think it's such an exciting time for you to be in dentistry as well.
No, thank you.
I just wonder how long you can keep that tradition going.
Let's see what's going to happen, but it was a lot of you guys are really, really good at what you do. I really appreciate the invitation and the opportunity, and keep counting on me. Good luck over there, and hopefully we can maybe in the future do something like this in person. Yeah,
that'd be lovely.
That'd be great.
That'd be a great thing.
Right, we're booking our flights.
Lovely. Cheers, Christian. Have a good
Cheers,
great
Christian.
Rest of the
Thanks
day.
very much, man.
Cheers.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Dentology, where we discuss the business of dentistry. If you like what you heard, please do subscribe where you found this episode. That would be amazing. And also follow us on Instagram.